Okay, hello and welcome back to Simon Says Artwork. My name's Simon, and on this video I'm going to be showing you how to make a DoodleBox, and I'm going to be using a few different pens in order to create it as well. I think in total it's 5 different pens. So the first one is pretty much my favorite pen that I use, which is a Staedtler brush pen. And I say it's a brush pen, it's not really a brush, but that's what it's called. It's actually more of a flexible nib. And on this first panel, what I try to do is to just not have any hesitation. There's no plan at all for what I'm going to draw. It's all drawing from imagination, like I love to do, as you know. And I wanted to try and put in something which was perspective based, so some sort of an object or an ornament or something which could be considered, you know, some kind of sci-fi antique shop item, you know, that you'd come across. And I had the idea to start off with a little it's almost like a stamp, you know, in that top right corner of just someone's face, but it's obviously not the Queen. And I just thought it'd be quite nice to have this little window of someone there, which is obviously not in proportional perspective with the other parts, just to flatten it and make the image quite different, like a splash page in a sketchbook. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice if it's not a sketchbook and it's on a box instead? And I do quite like how that, you know, changes an image. So I draw this kind of crazy sort of object, which could be some sort of antique, and I don't know what it is, but it was fun to draw, and it was just a stack of different things that are levels of boxes of things, and then I start to try and go around this stamp image with a bit of a frame. And after that, I do think about trying to get some atmosphere around it, so I do some swirly cloud stuff, which was nice and fun, but it does have a little bit of perspective that you have to consider when you do that, because if it's not right and if the clouds, you know, recede away in a different angle, it wouldn't look correct. And then here, this is more like I think my idea was sort of like a satellite or some kind of strange space pod, but there's no photo reference or anything in mind specifically that I'm drawing. It was just something which looks like technology of some kind, you know, because I just like seeing things which look almost robotic and have bits of buttons and dials. There's a point here where I think I'm going to do another bit of a cloud and I have to work out, and there it is. I just chuck it in. There's the shape of that little cloud, and it can just show how I had to figure out the perspective of going away from it. Now this next panel, I'm using the Pentel, it's called a fountain Pentel, but it's not a fountain pen. It's again a nib, and it's quite a strange pen. It has weird bits where it kind of spurts, you know, when it catches the page, it'll just go and it'll just spit out ink. And I just thought it doesn't matter on a cardboard box, but if it's on a proper illustrated piece of white paper for a commission, then it wouldn't be ideal. But it's nice for a doodle pen. It's nice black ink. I do like Pentel ink. It's nice and dark. It doesn't look different than the Staedtler brush pen, but that's because the Staedtler brush pen is darker than normal Staedtler fineliner ink. I don't know why, but that's been my experience on every Staedtler fineliner that I've used compared to every Staedtler brush pen. They just have darker ink in the brush pens, and so that's why it looks exactly the same color. But I promise you, if I'd have done a panel with a Staedtler fineliner, it would look a lot more faded, a lot less black, basically. The idea with this is just to try and do a bit of a junkyard or a scrapyard of, again, it's sort of technology that doesn't exist, or things which almost look like things, but I'm not thinking of anything too specific. Bits look like a mouse, bits look like a PC, bits look like a carry case for a pet, a cat or something, but it's not anything specific. That random fade in the video there was, I think, the end of that session, and you can see it's nicer daylight here, natural light. I'm trying to keep all this to line work instead of adding any shadow, which it was just a thought last minute, just to try and make it thematic. And I continue that through every panel. I try to make the pen different and the approach to the drawing different as well. I sort of mess up on some of the perspective here, not on this bit specifically, but I think it's in a minute, because it's tricky to, keep in your head the 3D space that you're drawing. It doesn't make a huge difference because there's so many different lines and so much detail. Now that's a terrible camera quality and I apologize for that. I don't know why. I think I was using my old phone, which was dying, and I just wanted to see if it still worked. And stupidly, I didn't test it on something which was harmless. I tested it on something which was, part of a video of different parts of something which is sequential, like this. I am trying to leave a bit of space in this one, in this drawing. As you can see, there's kind of an edge. I don't know if you can see, but there's almost a straight line going across the middle, where I'm trying to make it like an invisible wall. This is the bit where the perspective goes wrong, and I never know what I'm drawing. It's just keep drawing lines, keep drawing boxes, then draw wedges, then draw boxes on the wedges, then draw boxes in the boxes. And it's just that type of madness where you just keep going and keep going. But the perspective on that is a little bit odd, and I try to hide it by making it foreshortened at the very edge there, shrinking away. And I think it kind of gets away with it, putting a dome on top and then just keep adding details. And yeah, I don't dislike this one. It's, at first I was a bit concerned with it because I thought it's all a bit random and you can't really see the edge that I'm trying to preserve. You can kind of see it behind all that junk. Can you kind of see it? It's about central. It's a horizontal line that goes through. And then I tried to add a bit more details at the bottom because you can just feel that sense of something's not quite finished. But there, that was finished. And then I move on this one, I'm now using a different pen. This is a Unipin pen that I was gifted by someone in Manchester, and a great doodle pen, great fun. But I think it works like more of a gel pen. It's sort of a rollerball tip on the end of it. And I thought I'm going to do this one with just hatching. So that's the different approach of this one, is just to do hatching instead of doing line work where it's an actual drawn shape. It's all just loads of lines together and trying to make that look like things without being too figurative or too strict on what it is. The reason why I never want to be too figurative is because if I am going to do that, it's going to take more thought. And if I ever do that without thought, it just falls apart usually. So if you keep it abstract, you don't really go too wrong too quickly. And if you're going to do anything where it becomes figurative, it's worth taking a moment to really think in your head about what the angle is and what your vantage point is. Just here you can tell I've kind of taken a moment to think about clouds. Now on this panel I've got the rotary pen, again the rapidograph to do the third panel. Lovely dark ink. It's not the best surface for it because it's cardboard and it does become slightly furry, especially with a metal nib, but it was still great, and it's, to me, it's probably the strongest panel of them all. And this was something where I just thought, if I go with this one as, instead of the other just a line drawn junk pile, or the one where it was like a perspective antique thing, instead this is going to be kind of either towers or antennae, or just things which stick up and you can't see where they're coming from. They just shrink off, they disappear off the bottom of the panel. I just wanted them to stick up like that, because it could either be towers or it could be, different things popping off the top of robots. But to me, it looks more like a combination of both, really. That's the inspiration, even though, again, no photo reference, but that's where I got to there. And I thought that's all fun and it's quite nice, but I could do with, and I start using this Posca paint pen. It's a lovely white paint pen to get the highlights in there. And this is really what saves it. Because I'm drawing on a cardboard box and it's brown, brown is a mid-tone. It's not white, It's not black. It's the in-between. When you squint your eyes, it's not quite dark shadow, but it's like a mid-tone shadow. So if you draw in black and then you add white, you've got a range of light, dark and mid-tone. And on the first panel, it works quite nice for the little stamp face and the antique thing. And then on the next panel, it kind of makes them look like they've been sprayed with water or something, like they've got a bit of a gloss on them. And I think that's because I made it such thin lines. And in hindsight, I think if I would have gone thicker on the light, it would have worked better. This panel I quite like because I use it for the sky tone in between the clouds, which means that I get to define the clouds and I get to find where the ground level is. And then on this fourth panel with the antennae or towers, I just do a nice window box behind them, which is quite non-figurative, but it gives the suggestion of depth to it because it's something light behind it. Now this is in natural light, just showing you what it looks like. And it's only when I get to this point that I start to realize that I need to really stick it together to see what it looks like. And I also noticed that there is a panel at the top there, that's the lid, which is another panel that I really need to draw on, because that's going to be important. That's going to be a nice clean panel, whereas the bottom panel won't be. It'll be a patchwork of those flaps that you need to glue together, and it won't be quite so nice to draw on or to look at, whereas the top of the box is going to be something which you're going to want to look at really and have an image on there. So for this last panel, I fold it all up. I use a it's a pen which I actually found out about through Peter Draws. He used it once, and it's a Pilot Parallel pen, and it's a lovely pen, but it's not well suited to cardboard. As you can see, it's bleeding. It was really struggling to kind of make marks on there because it's really rough, the cardboard, for this lovely nib. It works much better on paper, and this image is it was my least favorite to do because it just felt like it wasn't working, it didn't look good. But then after it was drawn, I actually didn't mind it so much because it was so different to the others, and I was trying to make it abstract and flat. But I ended up getting frustrated and dragging it around, which is why I've got those messy edges on the left hand side and the right, is that I was just pulling it along thinking, I'm just going to have to get something to frame it now. And I didn't like it at first, but now that it's done, if you look at the difference between all these 5 panels, I think it adds quite a lot having such a different image. So this is me folding it back together and trying to figure out how it goes, how it's going to fit. You see that top lid panel, I think has a bit of charm to it now because it's so different to the others. And that's me just holding it together before I've actually glued it. I just thought I want to see what it looks like and see if it works, if I've missed anything. And the bottom I'm still, wasn't keen to draw on because that's not nice, all that patchwork. So what I do is I have a quick spin of it and film it there, and then I end up gluing it together, and I'm just going to glue it on the actual glue that already existed because that is the biggest bit, and then I use clothes pegs to pin that until it's glued. Now I am filming with one hand and holding the box with the other, but this is the finished box, so I apologize for how loose this looks, but like I almost drop it whilst I'm trying to spin it around. But yeah, you can see it makes the box quite interesting, and this is how to make a doodle box. I like that panel, that one where it's like a landscape. And but yeah, I recommend trying your own. Just turn a box inside out. That's my favorite. There is the rotary pen, the 4th panel, and then the top, the lid part isn't too bad. But yeah, I like the rotary pen and I like the landscape. But the others aren't too bad either. Not for 5 different drawings, it's kind of not too bad. So yeah, I hope you like it, and if you do, give me a like, a comment and subscribe, and check out another video if you like this, because I do a lot of drawing from imagination. Okay, thanks.